This is bizarre. And this is the exact type of thing that Marvel Studios and Disney have said they were no longer doing. But the fact that he was in the movie, then not in the movie, then back in the movie, then not in the movie, it shows that there was scrambling.
Oh, wow. A TP mummy over here.
I think this was poop. That's right. It was me all along. John Malkovich removed from Fantastic Four to avoid accusations of ripping off Superman? Rumors.
Punisher special presentation featuring a Doctor Strange cameo.
Rumors. Mephisto coming in a Midnight Suns movie? Rumors. We will answer these questions and more in this episode of The Rumor Rundown, where the hosts of New Rockstars investigate the wildest rumors that nerds and newsmen can't make heads or tails of, applying our own backgrounds in journalism and our Hollywood connections to finally confirm whether those rumors are honest scoops or bullshit poops. I am Erik Voss, here with Zach Huddleston.
Thrilled to be back. I did the show last week with Jessica, and I'm really excited to do it with you, Erik.
I'm excited to have you back as well. Jess is, again, just feeling a little under the weather, but we will have her back because she's the best at applying her own kind of bullshit test to things. I get a little swept up in wish fulfillment, whereas Jessica's like, that's not going to happen. So she really is the best at this. But Zach, you were wonderful last week. Thank you for stepping in to fill in for this. And we love having you back because you also have quite a bit of a track record living here in Los Angeles. You've had a ton of friends work in the industry. You yourself have worked on a number of film and TV sets. You get this world. You know how it works, and you know what's bullshit.
Yeah, I would like to think so. Also, just working at New Rockstars for nigh on 7 years now.
Oh, yeah.
We've been in this pipeline for a minute.
Yeah, you know. You've been on that kind of like whatever train before a title comes out, and you've seen the kind of daily drops. I mean, you as a frequent host of the Break Room, back when Break Room was doing 5 days a week, you had to kind of like follow every little update about some of these movies, and you can kind of see what changes during the production process.
Yes.
Well, are you ready for our first rumor?
I'm so excited for it.
Okay.
Erik.
Actually, I think you should.
Yeah, I think this is a really special rumor. I should read this. I like that there's toilet paper right off screen too. In case the scoops are poops. Oh, okay. The producer is coming around to drop off this scoop. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Oh, give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Okay. Snappy producer. Should wait for Erik to get back, I guess, to read this, but I'm so excited.
Oh, I wonder who that was over there.
Go?
I had to go take a quick bathroom break.
Oh, okay.
But it seems like you had contact with our off-screen producer?
Yes. Yeah, he dropped this off. He seemed hesitant to give it to me.
Interesting.
Also interesting, you need a bathroom break, what, 4 minutes into taping?
I'm just so excited.
Okay. Fantastic Four First Steps remove John Malkovich's character, Ivan Kragoff, the Red Ghost, because the super apes were seen as too similar to Lex Luthor's monkey bots in Superman. Now, the source of this rumor is Erik Voss, head of bad takes and movie shilling at New Rockstars on YouTube?
That's right. It was me all along. That's right. This is my hot take. I have a scoop.
Okay.
A scoop of my own. A scoop of their own here on this episode of the Rumor Rundown, where I believe that the timeline of the removal of John Malkovich from Fantastic Four First Steps is suspect. I think it is an unusual choice that we're all just trying to sweep under the rug as the typical type of, post-production decisions that happen on all Marvel films. This is bizarre. And this is the exact type of thing that Marvel Studios and Disney have said they were no longer doing. Even 2 years ago, they said they were going to stop doing this. So something else must have happened here that has led to John Malkovich last minute being cut from Fantastic Four First Steps.
And when you say Marvel said 2 years ago they were going to stop doing this, that's including things in trailers that are not in the films? Or what do you think they said they were stopping doing?
I'm referring to after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania came out in February 2023, Bob Iger, said, you know, we're going to stop doing these kind of sequels that no one asked for, and we're going to stop we're going to stick to our budgets on these things, and we're not going to like figure out what the movie is in post-production. Yet they're still doing it. And now at that point, Fantastic Four First Steps was still very much in development, but like it seems like since a year ago at Comic-Con 2024 with Matt Shakman, this seemed to be a very confidently marketed and presented film. Like Marvel Studios knew what it had, wasn't doing the typical thing. And by this time, when you're seeing this video, I will have seen the movie. I still think this movie could be very, very good. I have not seen it yet. I don't think this has anything to do with the quality of the movie, but it does speak to some kind of panic that happened at the 11th hour. And here's my scoop. Here's what I think happened based off of my own reading of things. I believe the producers of Fantastic Four First Steps fully intended to keep John Malkovich's character in the film, and they even included him in the very first teaser trailer back in February. But then in June, for the first time, Warner Brothers began to show full movie friends and family screenings of Superman and early press and influencer screenings of Superman for this film. And I know from my sources that people who work at Disney had their eye on Superman and were very keen to know what was happening in that movie and what people's reactions to that movie would be. More than they ever kind of publicly let press know that they're like keeping their eye on a rival studio's movie.
Because they're coming out 2 weeks apart.
Yeah.
That is insane in hindsight, right?
It is insane. James Gunn recently was on Dax Shepard's podcast and said that like when he was reinstated by Disney and Marvel as the Guardians Volume 3 director, there was a specific moment where he was in Kevin Feige's basement at his home in the Pacific Palisades, a basement that has basically been turned into a small museum for Star Wars collectibles. It's an insane setting, and like Kevin Feige had been rallying to and hustling to try to get James Gunn rehired. He never really liked that decision, and then he was successful. Alan Horn came around. There was other people at Disney who were trying to keep him fired, and that James Gunn said recently that like there was a moment when Kevin Feige's like, "It's great, we're back together again," and James Gunn had to be like, yeah, so about that, there's something else I have to do first. Now, James Gunn had just agreed to direct The Suicide Squad, what would become the 2021 Suicide Squad. This moment happened in like February or March 2019. And he goes, but I have to shoot something else first. And Kevin Feige went, oh, you're going to direct Superman? And James Gunn goes, no. They wanted me to direct Superman. I'm directing The Suicide Squad. And Kevin Feige goes, oh, okay, that's fine. You can go shoot that. And then once you're done shooting that, you can shoot Guardians Volume 3. Kevin Feige's biggest fear was that James Gunn would direct a Superman movie. Kevin Feige's start as an intern was working for the Richard Donner production company because he loved Richard Donner's Superman in 1978 that much. Kevin Feige had not read Marvel Comics growing up. It was all about Superman and Star Wars for him. He loved films. He loved these big movies. And so he idolized Richard Donner. And then once he worked for Richard Donner, he's like, hey, Lawrence Schuler Donner's the one really doing all the work as the producer. And he loved producing. So that's how Kevin Feige got his start. He's always had Superman in the back of his mind as that's what I should be trying to make, movies like that. So this idea that one of his most talented directors at his studio might have, just due to some social media bullshit, left, and in that 5-month window when he was away, someone else got in there and offered him Superman. Like, he felt so much relief that it wasn't Superman, but then a couple, 18 months later, it was announced that he was also going to be doing a Superman movie. Now, I think Kevin Feige and James Gunn have stayed buddies, and Kevin Feige was even at the Superman premiere in Hollywood in the past month. I don't think it's that I don't think it's that fraught between them, but I do think people at Marvel Studios were kind of obsessed with what is happening in Superman and maybe thinking about it too much. So here's what I think happened. When people started to see Superman throughout the month of June 2025, perhaps the most standout joke from the film, like Warner Brothers was so confident in it, they were showing people the full movie at these screenings. And one of these jokes, the standout jokes, as we all know, because we've seen the movie now, was this whole idea of Lex Luthor using monkey bots with enhanced low-level intelligence to write negative social media posts about Superman. literally the same week, June 25th. June 25th was when this this influencer and press screening happened. It was like the first time really people in the industry outside of close collaborators within Warner Brothers were seeing it. This was the same exact week when Disney released an official press release that did not include John Malkovich in the cast. It happened within the same 48 hours. And then everyone started to talk about this. People noticed that John Malkovich was no longer listed. Then a couple weeks later, on July 9th, there was another press release that put John Malkovich back on the cast list. And that's very weird. And then 7 days later is where we are now. On July 16th, Matt Shakman made an interview with Variety confirming that John Malkovich was indeed removed. But the fact that he was not out of the movie, or he was in the movie, then not in the movie, then back in the movie, then not in the movie, it shows that there was scrambling happening behind the scenes. And unlike Warner Brothers, Disney did not show Fantastic Four First Steps to anybody in the press until the final days before the release of the film. Again, that does not mean the movie is bad. It just means that they were tweaking a lot.
Using a different strategy. Yes.
And then I just think that the fact that it even got to this point with a major actor like John Malkovich scripted to have a big enough sequence in the first act of the film to sign on to it, big enough to be included in the marketing for the movie, and just for that role to be expendable enough to be cut at the 11th hour, is just very uncommon. And I think fears over comparisons to Lex's Monkeybots and Superman seem to be, in my opinion, the only thing that could have happened recently enough to scare Marvel into making what is kind of an embarrassing cut from the movie. And what I'm saying is, just to give some background context, Red Ghost, Ivan Kragoff, he was confirmed to be the character John Malkovich is playing. He was introduced in Fantastic Four number 13 in 1963, one of these early era Fantastic Four villains. He's known for having super apes. And apes are not the same thing as capuchin monkeys. The super apes included the gorilla, Michael, an orangutan, Pyotr, and Igor the baboon.
Red Ghost is Russian coded.
He is Russian coded,
yes.
That's right. They were trained to be obedient and follow the verbal commands of Ivan Kragoff. When Ivan sought to replicate the accident that gave the Fantastic Four their powers, he brought the apes along with him aboard his spaceship. As per specifications, they were bombarded with even more cosmic radiation than the Fantastic Four were endowed. And then they were given enhanced abilities. The gorilla was given super strength. Pyotr, the orangutan, was given magnetism powers, and then Igor the baboon was given shape-shifting abilities. And this was all involved with the Fantastic Four investigating the blue area of the moon. At this point, the Red Ghost was like intangible, and the super apes attacked the Fantastic Four, and it got the attention of the Watcher. Watcher, who was in the blue area of the moon. So
they're fighting in his neighborhood.
Yeah, he's right there. So yes, the Variety report. The reasons that Matt Shakman gave was that it was just too crowded in the first act of the movie, that there was a montage and it just like didn't work. He said there were a lot of things that ultimately ended up hitting the cutting room floor when we were building a 60s retro future world, introducing all of these villains, introducing these four main characters as a group, as well as individually, introducing the idea of a child. There was a lot of stuff to balance in this movie, and some things had to go ultimately in terms of shaping the film for its final version. And the article also includes the context that the one other feature film that Matt Shakman has ever directed is a film called Cut Bank that came out in 2014, and John Malkovich was in it with Liam Hemsworth.
Yes.
So this is someone he goes way back with.
Yes.
And it's not someone he would want to cut from the movie.
And yeah, so like a little bit more context here. In the Variety article in which Malkovich's cut becomes official, right? This is released by the studio. They quote Matt Shakman. He says that like he overpraises him, frankly, because I think he feels bad. He's like, I don't respect anybody more. That he's such an inspiration. Steppenwolf Theater, you know, I couldn't have made my first movie if it wasn't for John Malkovich, et cetera, et cetera. I want to point out a couple things that I think could reinforce your scoop, and maybe just a couple whiffs of poop.
Go for it.
Okay.
Let me have it,
yes,
Zach.
Okay. But the reinforcements, so the timeline here is strange. Obviously, almost every feature film that gets shot, something gets cut. Mm-hmm. It could be like an extra couple seconds here. It could be an entire scene. Rare that it's an entire character, of course. But it's not that unusual. And as you pointed out, Marvel for quite a while, has been overshooting and relying heavily on reshoots and kind of shaping the films and the edits, especially. But it is very strange to include a character in the initial trailer of a movie.
A major actor.
Yes, recognizable, right, in costume, not just like in the background of a group shot. It was like a close-up on Malkovich's face.
Yeah.
To see that, like, oh, John Malkovich is in this movie, right? Like they were marketing his presence as like an attraction for this film. They were not marketing Paul Walter Hauser as Mole Man. We are recording this as of the 17th of July. They just today released a photo of him kind of finally confirming that he's in the movie. He was in the kind of prelude comic book, the Mole Man character, but like he has not been in a single trailer, right?
Yeah.
And so like, why would you choose to include a character in the initial trailer and to not include a character basically in any of the marketing? And yet it's the included character that gets cut, right? You would think even when we got the first trailer for this film, which was February of 2025, right? Principal photography had already wrapped. Presumably, they're still editing the movie, I imagine, at that point, of finishing special effects and things like that. But like, you would assume they've kind of looked at what they have and maybe had made some calls about like, we don't need this, or we might want to cut this. But clearly, they had not decided to cut Red Ghost at that point, right? And so something happened in between February and July that caused that. So that certainly lends credence to potentially your theory.
To something unusual affecting the decision, at least.
Yes. Now, I will say the one potential whiff of poop, 2 whiffs of poop.
There's probably more than 2.
Okay. And very quick aside, we know from whence we speak when we talk about whiffs of poop, both because we have young children, but also we both have dogs. Now, if you've watched New Rockstars and Break Room for a long time, you've probably seen or heard Hank, who's kind of our office dog, John's dog, who's a lovely, big, gregarious guy who sometimes whines and jumps into frame or whatever. I have a dog, an elderly French bulldog named Lucy, who I've had for a long time. And I've brought into the office exactly twice for a reason. It's a poorly behaved dog. I literally brought her in earlier this week on Monday because I needed to pick her up from the vet, scheduling, whatever. Within minutes, she shit all over this office.
She shit everywhere. She produced more excrement than appears to be the size of her body.
I mean, multiple rooms. I stepped in it and then I tracked it. I mean, the disaster. Okay. So anyways, that's only to say our entire studio was filled with the funk of dog poo. But the only things I would say could detract from your theory. One, oh crap, I had these lined up and then I got sucked into my
yeah, I was gonna say, are you just telling a story about your dog?
Story. No. Okay, it was going to be okay, yes. One thing that could potentially detract from that is another very common practice with big blockbuster films is they do early fan screenings and they sometimes edit movies based on those fan screenings, right? If they show the movie to a bunch of people and those people are like, boy, the ending kind of dragged, or the ending was a bummer, or the first part is boring, or I didn't know who that character was. And frequently movies will retool, they'll re-edit, maybe you do a little voiceover here, maybe you cut out something there. Doesn't it feel like that is the most likely scenario? That maybe in May or June, sometime after that initial February trailer, they did some test screenings, they got some feedback about the early parts of the movie, and they decided that, we got to trim 5 minutes out of the beginning of the movie. This Red Ghost 5 minutes feels the most expendable.
I will admit that the most likely scenario here is pacing. Like it's what you just said. It's now they did do some screenings in Brazil. They did screenings elsewhere, and we haven't heard any of the people who saw these screenings say, wait, Malkovich was in what I saw. I think Malkovich was not in those. And those, the feedback they got from those screenings was that no one missed him from the opening act of the movie.
And that could still align with your timeline.
Yeah.
If the decision to cut him was made mid to late June, after early advanced screenings of Superman, and I know the Brazilian test screenings we talked about on last week's sneak peek, right? Those were in July.
Yeah.
So like that could still, your theory could still have credence there.
Right.
The one other maybe faint hint of poo I will call out is, yes, though it is a very funny joke in Superman. Do you think anybody leaves the theater and be like, and was thinking Lex Luthor has super smart monkeys? as his henchman?
I think some people were. I think being online. Now, you're not on Twitter anymore. This is the biggest meme I see from the film.
Oh, really?
There's like two kind of big memes. One is just either the shot of Superman smiling at the end of the movie or Lex Luthor doing this as he's looking down.
Yes.
And people just using these to be like, if they use the Superman photo, it's like, I held the elevator door open for an old woman who lives in my building. Like, I'm the biggest hero in the world doing the smallest thing. Or just like, I watched someone struggle to parallel park outside my building.
Yes.
Like doing the Lex Luthor.
Well, our favorite Americana at Brand Memes account has already used that formatting. Yes.
So that's one. The other meme is people quote tweeting what anti-Superman posts and people who want this movie to fail are saying about it, or trying to move the goalposts with like box office numbers and things like that. And they put the monkey screeching beneath it with like a word bubble. So it's like they're writing what the thing is.
Okay.
And a lot of people are just like praising this movie, like, holy crap, James Gunn actually gave people on social media a way to combat like the cultists who are spreading misinformation and bullshit about this movie. Just put that picture right underneath it, and that's always going to be like the top comment that you gave the reply guys something to fight back with. So I love that, and I do think like someone who worked at Marvel saw that and was like, interesting. Okay, this is an interesting take. Now, I'm not saying there's so many other takes people have about Superman other than the monkey bots. However, I do think the look of the monkeys with like some kind of headgear that gives them a kind of like artificial intelligence, brainwaves that tells them to write these things, enough intelligence to write mean social media posts, is similar to how the apes looked in this movie.
Okay.
And just like that visual, people are like, And really what I think it is we talked on that episode of Sneak Peek you're on, Zach, about how both of these movies have black holes. Both of them are trying to tell a story set in an alternate history, an alternate reality. Both are going for a Silver Age vibe. Both are trying to do kind of like a restoration of something.
Both are kind of launching new sub-franchises within their greater franchises.
Both of them use specifically Blue Number 4 in their palette a lot. And I think that was just like one thing that they could control. They're like, there's going to be some people who are comparing these. We can't avoid it, but there's this one thing that like we also don't like for pacing reasons. I think there's probably a lot of reasons. If you make a decision this big, there's never just one big reason why you do it. There's usually like 5 or 6 reasons that you do it. And because it's hard to put someone in the marketing of a movie and then pull that back, because people who work at Disney are smart enough to know that there's going to be people on the internet who are just bashing them for this. Yeah. And I'm not bashing Disney for doing this. I don't mind editing a movie up to the 11th hour. I don't care. Like, the 2012 Avengers film is a movie that I really liked, and they were editing that movie up until the last minute. They shot the post-credit scene for the 2012 Avengers movie 2 weeks before it came out, after they already did the press screening for it. They went back with everybody, and that's,
characters' facial hair had changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Make the best movie you can. Bob Fosse, who won Oscars for Cabaret, just spent hours and hours in the editing booth just cutting and recutting and recutting and recutting and finding that movie in the edit.
I guess because it's July, the algo's been feeding me a lot of AI slop listicles that pop up in my feed about how to keep cool when I sleep at night. And hey, maybe freezing a bunch of spoons and tucking them under my pillow is more effective and less miserable than it sounds, but I'm not gonna find out. I already know how to keep cool all night, and it's by sleeping on Miracle Made sheets. Miracle Made fabric was inspired by NASA, so it's thermoregulating. That means that you'll sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. And these sheets are crazy comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Plus, Miracle Made sheets are infused with silver that prevents bacterial growth. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne, so sleeping on Miracle Made sheets is good on your skin too. Upgrade your sleep as the weather heats up. Go to trymiracle.com/newrockstars to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can now save 40%. And if you use the promo New Rockstars at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident confident and their product is backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/newrockstars and use the code NEWROCKSTARS to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/newrockstars to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring today's video.
Do you have a, with such depth, all superhero movies so much better than I, but like, do you know of like a significant character? Obviously there's like background, there's like one line police detectives and whatever that are probably getting chopped out of films all the time. But like, do you know of another example within MCU, DC, something like that, of a character like this completely getting excised from a film?
I can't think of one off the top of my head. I know there were reports of Lena Headey and Jeff Goldblum shooting scenes for Thor: Love and Thunder, but we did not see them in the trailer. That was just something they were speculated, they were rumored. I believe The Hollywood Reporter or Deadline reported that Matt Smith was going to be in Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. And that was an early casting report, but at no point did Disney or Lucasfilm say, hey, Matt Smith is in this cast. He wasn't listed.
Certainly didn't include him in any marketing materials, right?
No, and that might have been an earlier version of the film where he was playing some other character. But that was like a big one that was more of like the press. I don't think we've seen an example of just like a character in costume. The scene was shot. They feel confident enough in the scene that they're going to put it in the movie and use it to sell the movie. I can't think of a time when the MCU did this. There were shots, certainly shots. And I've done a lot of videos talking about trailer deception. Yeah. And Disney hasn't really done it other than Avengers Infinity War, that the hero shot that ended the first teaser for Infinity War had, Steve Rogers running in the jungle with Hulk. And that green version of Hulk was not in Infinity War, at least in that context. He was kind of in a Jekyll and Hyde sequence where he was arguing with his Bruce Banner self, where his face would just appear for a second, but he wasn't in a full body out in the open air ever in that movie. So that was probably the closest example, but at least it was the actor was not removed from the movie. It was just the decision of, did he Hulk out in this movie or does he Hulk out in a Smart Hulk form in Endgame? That's the closest I can think of. I
mean, similarly, you could argue Taskmaster's presence in Thunderbolts, though that character is definitely in the movie. Yeah. But a lot of the scenes that we saw in the trailers, she's already dead by that point.
Those were edited.
She has 30 alive seconds of screen time in the film, whereas we were led to believe in the marketing she's a significant part of the team. I guess, my brain goes to the Terrence Malick movie, The Thin Red Line, which was this World War II movie that came out. It was like Terrence Malick's big comeback after he'd been like kind of in hiding for a long time. And it has this gigantic sprawling cast of like George Clooney, Sean Penn, Jim Caviezel, whatever. And there's multiple people. I believe George Clooney is entirely cut out of that movie. And there's also these stories about Jim Caviezel thought he was the star of that movie and he is barely in it because Terrence Malick, if you've ever seen his movies, and I know this is very off brand for New Rockstars, but they are like not necessarily plot driven and they are more like vibes, and it's like the camera's floating around and there's lots of waving trees and grass and stuff like that.
Sean Penn famously had no idea what the Tree of Life was about when he was shooting it, and he thought he was like going to be the star of it, and Brad Pitt was more the star of the film.
And there's also dinosaurs in that movie. So that's kind of an example, and obviously you could probably cite a bunch of other general films, but it is so rare in our little corner of the world.
Was it Adrian Brody also referring to?
Maybe that's also
for the Thin Red Line, where he thought he was going to have a much bigger role?
It was Adrian Brody, I think, was entirely cut out of that movie. Maybe it was
instead
Clooney
of Caviezel.
Is still in it. Yes.
Or Clooney,
And Wilds have Nick Nolte's in that movie. It's got like all the 90s dudes are in that movie.
It is it isn't like unfounded. It is just uncommon for Marvel recently to go this far with it. And I think there would have, if they felt uncertain about the pacing, normally you can read the pacing on the page. And with all the people who were involved with this movie, they would have caught that sooner before the first trailer came out. Like, production had wrapped. Yes, they did reshoots, but like, to have that big of a sequence with that big of an actor in it, if it felt like it could potentially be that expendable, you wouldn't put it in the trailer. No. And it just something unusual happened here. I don't think we can just chalk this up to like regular business.
There's also been a lot of coverage of reported runtimes of this film. I know I just saw like an hour and 54 minutes just got cited by like some movie board or theater chain or something like that. And I think like there were some numbers early on that the movie was going to be over 2 hours, and then it dropped down beneath 2 hours. So certainly this could have been part of multiple cuts to like shorten the movie, quicken the pace. I don't hate a movie that's under 2 hours.
Yeah, no
that's
problem
kind of
with that.
nice. Superman was also right around that number, a little bit under. And boy, that movie flew by.
Superman's a bit over.
Was it like 210
I think it's like
or something like that?
209, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But
But
also
there are plenty of examples of under 2 hour movies that work great. A lot of Marvel movies are under 2 hours. I think
Yes.
Spider-Man Homecoming might be just under 2 hours.
yes, though there is some bloat that happens over time. How long do you think Doomsday is going to be?
I think Doomsday is going to be, I'm calling it now, 2 hours, 38 minutes.
38. I would have gone even longer. I would have said like three hours.
Okay.
But maybe if you're shooting 2 movies, you don't have to squeeze it all into the first one. But yeah, I don't hate a shorter movie. And if we give them the benefit of the doubt and we trust that it was just like a pacing thing, maybe to like introduce a villain and give them any screen time, you do have to commit to something, right? Explaining who this guy is, why does he have these smart apes, why are they fighting the Fantastic Four? We have to let that fight take place. We have to let it resolve, right? Even if it is part of just an opening montage to show them battling different villains or to like give us a little bit of like their backstory, that can end up being 10 minutes of screen time, something like that, right? And rather, let's just get to Galactus a little faster.
Yeah.
But all that said, they could have been weighing lots of things to cut, and maybe the monkeys pushed him over the top.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different reasons. Now, I think when we judge this as a poop or a scoop at the end of this video, I think we got to think about, am I being a little too reaching in this timeline math that I'm doing, saying that word would have gotten to people at Marvel and Disney that there are smart monkeys / apes in their rival film, and that going to my head that must be part of the reason? You be the judge ultimately, Zach, because if I am Mr. Poop, I will own up to it.
Well, one last thing too. Obviously, any superhero movie, there's going to be multiple things that overlap, right? Like there was a big old kaiju in Superman, and Galactus, one could argue, when he shrinks down to the size where he can stomp around New York, kind of kaiju level, right? Like, and in the trailer, we see his feet stomping on streets in New York City that is very reminiscent of a Godzilla film or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But they can't cut that out.
Yeah. I think it is like there's like probably 10 different things that are kind of similar in both movies, and they can't cut the other 9 is my pick. Okay, let's move on. We'll judge at the end of this podcast whether that's a poop or
our
scoop.
producer's getting itchy over there. It feels like he's got a hot one.
So this now, I think the off-screen producer was angry because I pushed him out of the room to do the last one, and he's like, I actually have some other scoops that come from other sources. All right. Oh, he's just like foaming at the mouth.
Get that
He's
look
doing
at.
push-ups.
Oh, God.
Our off-screen producer's swole. Shit. All right. Get back to the gym, man. You don't have to juice as hard as you are. All right. So here's our second one. I will read it. We have a photo for this one. Exciting. Okay. So here's this scoop. Scoop number 2. Set photo for Marvel's Punisher special presentation includes a theater marquee listing Dr. Strangelove, The Italian Job, and Predator. And clearly the person who printed this misspelled the word predator. But we don't want to show the photo because it is a set photo. We don't know who exactly took it, but we found this from Quid Vacuo on X/Twitter. So there's a movie theater marquee. This is for the Marvel's special presentation of The Punisher starring Frank Castle. It's going to be the story that's set in between the events of Daredevil Born Again Season 1 and potentially Daredevil Born Again Season 2, which we know will also lead into Frank Castle being a part of Spider-Man Brand New Day that comes out in July 2026.
Yeah, big next year for John Bernthal as Punisher, huh?
And John Bernthal and Tom Holland together. I mean, Odyssey is currently the highest grossing movie of 2026, which is very funny to me.
We got to talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, we do have to get to it. So, Zach, this is something you saw, and I think the go-to Easter egg a lot of people are thinking is Dr. Strangelove. Is that like an Easter egg of, I know Dr. Strangelove is another thing, obviously Stanley Kubrick film, a classic, but if there's going to be a future team up of the Midnight Suns, could Doctor Strange and Frank Castle ever cross paths?
Oh, yes. And what do you think are the odds that Doctor Strange could show up in the Punisher special presentation. Now, Daredevil season 1, no real Marvel cameos outside of kind of the former Netflix Defenders universe.
Just a reference to Spider-Man, but that's
about it. None of that. But in theory, it's all the same universe. It could happen, right? Sanctum Sanctorum is somewhere in New York, as is Frank Castle. It was you have broken down so many films and so many movie marquees in films. And it's frequently, there's inside joke references.
Mm-hmm.
People put up like the channel on a marquee or a movie poster, like these famous fake movies, or they are references to maybe something else the director has done, or a reference film that is like kind of similar thematically to what we were watching. And this is such a weird collection of movies here. These are all real films.
3 great movies.
Different genres, different years. So Dr. Strangelove, as Eric already mentioned, famous Stanley Kubrick black and white nuclear parody kind of film, 1964. The Italian Job, now that one gets a little complicated. The original Italian Job, starring Michael Caine, made in 1969. They remade it with Mark Wahlberg and Ed Norton and Charlize Theron in 2003, about like bank robbery, whatever. And then Predator, now, not to be confused with The Predator from 2003. Or no, that was 2013, I think, is the Boyd Holbrook, Keegan-Michael Key, Olivia Munn. Yeah. That was The Predator.
And also Predator, not to be confused with our vascular-stricken legged president and the list that he probably is on.
Damn, dude. Definitely staying in the cut. But yeah, Predator, there's been so many Predator films. Also, The Predators, starring Adrian Brody, not that. This spelling, this singular version of it is the 1987 Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes, Shane
Black acting.
Yes.
A rare Shane Black acting, not writing or directing, just acting in it.
Carl Weathers.
Is that John McTiernan?
Yeah.
Yes. Who we could do a whole other rant on. John McTiernan and his wiretaps.
What a character.
But yeah, so I was furiously typing through IMDb to find if there's any links, like, as far as I can tell, nobody in the cast of this has appeared in any of these films. There's not like, I guess, you could argue Doctor Strange is right there, the first 9 letters of Doctor Strangelove or whatever. Italian Job, we've seen in other shots from the set, the Nucci's crime family. There's like a Nucci Italian restaurant awning, and the Nucci's are a in-universe crime family, mob family that in the first season of the Netflix Punisher series, he kind of kills a couple of their members. They show up in the comic books and stuff like that. We haven't seen them since that first episode on Netflix of the Punisher, but maybe like Italian Job, maybe that is, one of the things Frank Castle has to do in this special presentation is go to like a mob shootout or something like that. And then Predator, I mean, maybe he's going to kill a predator. Maybe Punisher is kind of a predator in this. Could these be 3 things that are kind of like set pieces, sub themes of this special presentation? If this were going to be a series, I would even guess those could be 3 different episode titles. But we know it's kind of just one kind of TV movie length thing. So I don't think it will be that. Or is this just the set decorator is like, I love these 3 movies. What letters do we have in the box? I can make these work.
With interesting MCU links of like the Italian Job has Ed Norton in it, who played the original Hulk. Predator is now like a Disney property, and they're doing Predator Badlands.
Yes. Ooh, even Italian Job also has Charlize Theron. Clea. That's another Doctor Strange connection.
There you go. We're getting there.
Okay, what could be the Predator Doctor Strange?
Carl Weathers was also in the Mandalorian.
Okay.
I
mean,
that's as far as I'm getting.
Shane Black directed Iron Man 3.
Iron Man 3. Yeah, there you go. All right, we got there.
Okay. Leave in the comments. Is there any? Can you Sudoku this to make these somehow line up?
There have been lots of fun movie theater marquee Easter eggs. In WandaVision specifically, we saw in the Westview Crown, or what do we call the Regal, I think. There was an Incredibles poster, Pixar's Incredibles, which was like right behind the family in the Halloween episode. That was very fun because there was like a foursome of super powered people. We saw Tannhauser Gate on the marquee, which is a reference to the monologue in Blade Runner, the Tears and Rain monologue.
Never a real movie.
Not a real movie. So it's just like, that's cool. I mean, if you know Tannhauser Gate, it's like, oh, it's just this whole amazing concept of a guy who would later come back in Christopher Nolan's Batman movies. He plays like the Wayne CEO, not CEO, but he's like the head of the board, the chairman of the board.
Rutger Hauer,
yeah,
right?
Rutger Hauer,
Yeah.
And then we also saw Oz the Great and Powerful, the weird 2013 Sam Raimi, James Franco movie that's like set in the world of the Wizard of Oz. That was a Disney release. That was like a Buena Vista Pictures release.
I mean, that's the other thing. These are not Disney films.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I guess Predator was a Fox
It was
film.
Fox, yeah.
Actually, I'm not sure if Italian Job and Doctor Strange, I don't know what studio released those, but Predator was a Fox film. Disney now owns Fox. Maybe these are 3 movies they had the rights to and they can use as a reference. It's just there must be something there.
Yes.
As you often point out in your breakdowns, nothing is an accident.
Right.
There's always some reason behind every choice, every store title, every street name, everything. Maybe we'll get a future scoop that will explain what these could mean. But it is, of course, full-blown scoop. No poop there. There's a photo.
It exists in the world.
Maybe just my rank speculation on what they mean. That's the closest to poop we get here. Yeah.
Okay. We have one more. Okay, now he's just doing like, what's it called? Where you do a push-up, you jump up.
A burpee?
He's doing burpees.
Oh man, he's flexing on us.
He's so strong.
Trying to get in that Hugh Jackman shape.
Yeah. Till he's 90. All right, one more that he says is related to the one we just talked about.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
This is a short one. Oh, just from Daniel RPK, our friend Daniel Rickman, who says Mephisto will appear in the Midnight Suns film. So it's like 2 scoops in one there. Mephisto is coming back, scoop 1, and scoop 2, that Midnight Suns is going to be a film. We've heard bits and pieces of this before, but he's kind of connecting the dots here. Okay, so let's talk about, now that Mephisto's confirmed to be in the MCU, played by Sacha Baron Cohen, and he's got to have some kind of future, some connection to the Midnight Suns and or Ghost Rider seems like the most logical place we would see him next. But what would a Midnight Suns film look like in the MCU as it exists right now?
Yes, and I dug into this a little bit. Daniel RPK later kind of tweeted a story on the website Screen Geek, not to be confused with Screen Rant or Screen Crush or Screen Junkies or all the other screen outlets in the world. But Screen Geek had an article about this same kind of scoop that included the little tidbit that the movie would be based on the comic storyline Damnation.
Okay, yep.
That was a specific lineup of the Midnight Suns and featured Mephisto. In that, Mephisto has taken over Las Vegas in an attempt to turn it into hell on earth. And the Midnight Suns must kind of like take him down inside this hellish Vegas, which reminds me of the Zack Snyder Army of the Dead kind of movie. Anytime you get to see casinos inhabited by zombies or monsters or whatever is really fun. But that particular lineup, the Damnation lineup of the Midnight Suns, featured Blade, Ghost Rider, Moon Knight, Elsa Bloodstone, Man-Thing, and Dr. Voodoo.
Okay.
Which is an interesting combination. No Doctor Strange in that particular lineup, but of course they may not stick to the exact comic book team.
If you swap out Dr. Voodoo for Doctor Strange, we have that lineup. We would need a Ghost Rider confirmed, but I think that's got to be imminent. I would love to see that story. Like, that is the Midnight Sun story I want to see.
Yes.
Like, we've barely gone to Vegas at all, I believe, in the MCU. We've gone out to like the desert in phase 1 quite a bit. What If went to Vegas a few times, but like Vegas in the MCU could be very fun.
And it's such a nighttime city.
Yeah.
So like these Midnight Suns that are kind of like dark, if this were maybe R-rated, maybe just the bloody edge of PG-13, something like that, that would be really fun. Yeah. And you're saying we've got those, assuming Blade is Mahershala Ali, right? Obviously, Elsa Bloodstone and Man-Thing showed up in the Werewolf by Night special presentation. Moon Knight played Mark Spector / all the other personas, played by Oscar Isaac. There's also been other rumors floating. These rumors are always floating that there's something in the works for Moon Knight, right? Whether it's a season 2 or an appearance or something like that. You guys have talked kind of extensively on sneak peeks and rumor rundowns about potential for a Midnight Suns film, and that is what the Blade project might kind of become. Yeah. Does this change or reinforce any of your previously held beliefs?
It just kind of reinforces it. I mean, all that we really know is that whoever Dan's source is at Marvel Studios is kind of giving him some confidence that like they want to do this. That someone at the studio really wants this to happen. It does not mean that it's actually greenlit and that there's actually a script involved. It may just be like, this is one of 1,000 different things they want to happen. So I'm not like, nothing's really changed for me. It just kind of feels like, okay, we're hearing again. And also, we just know for a lot of these people, I mean, he tends to be better, but I think by tends to be better, he just has someone who actually does work at the studio who is like replying to his text with like thumbs up every now and then.
Yeah.
Whereas other people are just completely making shit up.
Yes.
So yeah, I really do want to see this. I mean, if you actually try to put this in the Marvel slate, it's like, when does this happen? And if like Fantastic Four First Steps underperforms this week, and if Doomsday does not make as many billions of dollars as it needs to, is shit like this never going to happen?
Right. I mean, are we right back to if Doomsday and Secret Wars, why not? Let's go down this road for a second.
Okay.
Doomsday and Secret Wars underperform. And underperforming for those movies can be $850 million at the worldwide box office, right? Probably anything under $1 billion for those movies is going to be considered a failure. Like post Secret Wars, instead of kind of like launching the mutant saga, is that Kevin Feige commits professional seppuku and goes off to do something else, and we get kind of an MCU full clear house reboot?
I think what will happen is like they'll have to admit failure. I don't think Kevin Feige steps aside just because I don't think anyone else can really do that job. Even on his worst day, he's still the only one, I think, over there who can actually do it. But I do think, we saw David Zaslav kind of quietly take a pay cut. And I don't know how much Kevin Feige gets paid. I don't know if he's like overpaid. I would say whatever they're paying him, it's still probably worth it.
Yeah.
Because he's that valuable to the industry. But I do think you see a lot of layoffs. You see maybe a retreat from streaming. I think because streaming, even though they're dividing it into Marvel Television, I think they're only able to stream in kind of a semi-connected Marvel Television universe based off of the strength of the films. And if the film division is not doing well, I think they're going to completely gut anything else that's not that at the studio. You may see some different reorgs happening on the Disney executive side of things in terms of oversight.
Yeah.
You may also see just kind of like a realignment of a lot of things. Now, yeah, I think $850 million could be viewed as like an underperformance by a movie like Doomsday, considering the budget is so high. I mean, I believe the theatrical version of Justice League that came out in November 2017 made somewhere between $700 million and $800 million worldwide. And that was still viewed as like a disappointment that put Warner Brothers
sealed the coffin on the Snyderverse, right? Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. The Snyderverse lived on for a few more years in uncertainty.
It's true. We got another Aquaman.
Yeah, Walter Hamada stuck around for another couple years, 3 years, 4 years, I think, after that. But part of that was just because there's so many other irons in the fire, and Peter Safran had a lot of success overseeing things like, Aquaman, Shazam. Aquaman extended the lifetime of the DCEU by another few years because that made so much money. That made over $1 billion.
And even the second Aquaman, which is viewed as a big disappointment critically and amongst the fan base, made more money in its opening weekend than Superman.
Yeah, those movies made so much worldwide. So let's not undersell the second half of the DCEU. But yeah, I think like another example, Sony, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 made something like $700 million worldwide. Andrew Garfield. That movie was like, that changed everything afterwards. Like Amy Pascal admitted defeat and had to make a deal with Kevin Feige after throwing a sandwich at him. Like that, we've seen examples of movies that do very well and still not good enough.
Well, and on that note, right, like Marvel movies are still making tons of money. Thunderbolts is still, as of us speaking right now, I believe is still a top 10 box office film of 2025. It will probably get surpassed once Fantastic Four comes out, and it'll get pushed farther down but everybody's like, oh, that movie didn't make enough money because of both expectations, but also how expensive Marvel movies are to make. Do you think we could also see a retreat from, okay, we can no longer spend $250 million on Marvel movies if the ceiling is $600 million at the box office? And like, maybe we need to move a little bit towards that Sony model. Obviously, we want them to be higher quality, but famously, Madam Web and the Venom movies made a lot of money at the box office. But like, Morbius might have been successful for Sony in that was such a cheap movie to make, even though it made a lot less than most superhero movies. Like, they could turn a profit because they spent so much less. Do you think we could see a world where Marvel's like, okay, let's just start making cheaper movies?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. Not this Marvel. Like, it would really, because the Sony model did not work.
Right.
It ultimately failed.
Could it, with better creatives, with Kevin Feige at the helm, can you make a great $100 million superhero movie?
I think James Gunn will prove whether or not you can.
Clayface.
In
right?
the next few years. Yeah, with Clayface, with other like standalone movies that are not big effects. Like, I think Supergirl, I don't think it's $100 million, but I bet it's like $150 million movie.
I think they're keeping that budget lower than Superman and lower than like a lot of big tentpoles. Yeah.
Yeah. I think like there's going to be a lot of $100 million movies that get made over the next few years at Warner Brothers for DC. And I think they will prove whether that model can work.
Yes. And to be clear, we at New Rockstars, me personally, none of us are rooting for this. We want all of these movies to be a success because I want to see a weird Midnight Suns movie,
yes,
right? I want them to get to make that. And frankly, I want to see it in 2027. I want let's get to work on that now, right? Like,
but the problem is just with the names we mentioned, if you need to get Mahershala Ali and Oscar Isaac and Benedict Cumberbatch in a movie together, already that's at least a $50 million movie.
You're saving a lot of money on Man-Thing, though. That can be anybody in that suit.
Well, you pay for it in VFX.
Okay, that's true.
If you have to do VFX stuff, it's kind of like, a lot of people were people who already hate James Gunn were quote tweeting the Variety report of how much he got paid for Superman, $15 million. And I wish that Variety, who I love their reporting, I wish they included the context of, well, he also directed the movie. He also wrote the movie. Yep. He also produced the movie with Peter Safran, and the money he got paid was probably offset by a lower annual salary, whatever his contracted fee is. Like, you don't know all the money, but they compared it to David Cornsweet only making $750,000. And I think anybody who knows how movies get made know that this is very common. Like, Robert Downey Jr. made less than that for the first Iron Man. And Robert Downey Jr. was a bigger actor in 2006 when that deal was made than David Cornsweet is now. David Cornsweet's never opened a movie as the main character of it before. He was in Twisters. He was in some Netflix shows. He was in Pearl. He was in, what am I thinking of? No, he was in...
He was in Pearl.
Yeah, he was in Pearl, and he was in The Politician.
Yes.
But he's not major box office the way Robert Downey Jr. had been in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He'd been in a ton of movies before
Back
Iron
to his
Man.
teenage years, Weird Science.
He was an A-lister star. David Cornsweet before this movie was not an A-lister. Now he is, and you better believe the next time he's in a movie, and our man got points. He got points on the back end of Superman. Don't sweat Cornsweet. He's doing fine.
Don't sweat Cornsweet.
Yeah, and I think this movie doesn't get made without James Gunn. I think he got adequately paid $15 million,
Also,
writer, director, and producer, and he was out there marketing the hell out of this movie.
That's what I was going to say. You rarely see a director do as much press as James Gunn has done for this movie, right? And some of that's because directors don't want to do months and months of interviews, right? To be replying to everybody on social media. That is effort. That is labor for James Gunn, right? That is a big, I was going to say effort again, but I already said effort. That's a lot of work for James Gunn. That's a burden. That's a better term. Yeah.
I think also another thing that needs to be included in any report like this is James Gunn is one of the few directors working on this scale who can make his films under budget and finish them on schedule.
Yes.
Most other directors are still going back to reshoots. There weren't extensive Superman reshoots. He turned in his script on time in May 2023, well in advance, over a year in advance, so that it could then just go into pre-production and casting, and it could work the way movies should work. He finishes them on time. They still look good. They don't feel or look rushed. They, if anything, overdo the assignment. everyone enjoys working on them. Like, it's hard to find a director who can do that. And I think that's why Kevin Feige was like, oh God, you're not going to direct Superman, can you? Because he knows that most of the other directors he works with at Marvel can't do what he does in terms of that level of professionalism.
Yeah.
So that's why he was paid $15 million, because he did it. Superman was not this troubled production that it could have been, and that it often is every other time someone tries to make movies like this. So I don't know. I just wish that like that context, not to like go to bat for someone who probably doesn't need me to defend him, but I just think like these price number comparisons often get distorted.
You have to be so careful pocket watching in Hollywood, especially when you never know how accurate these numbers are. You don't know what the the back end deals are. Yeah. He has 5 different jobs at DC, right? Yeah. Who knows what each of those jobs are paying and like how much of that is reflected in that 15 million. So that's hard to do.
Yeah. Okay, so rounding up, which of these rumors are poops and which are scoops? I think we can say that the set photo for Punisher is definitely a scoop. This exists out there, so we give that a scoop. I will let you judge Erik Voss's dumb Super Apes versus Monkey Bots reason for why Malkovich was cut from Fantastic Four.
You know what? It has the faintest whiff of poop, but because I trust you and your desk is 6 feet away from mine, I'm going to say scoop.
I'm going to just let the audience say, I can hear them saying poop. And because poop, I'm just going to wrap myself in toilet paper.
A TP mummy over here.
Because I think this was poop. Okay. And I just feel like I stretched something.
It's fun poop.
And I want just to waste toilet paper. I'm going to wad this up and save it.
Also, tying back to an earlier, that toilet paper is sitting there because I needed it to clean up all the shit that my dog sprayed over our studio.
Is that?
That's probably a tiny bit of poop that got on the toilet paper.
It's not on the part that's on my head. It's not on the part that's on my head, but I looked at it.
Who knows? Or that could be anything else. Maybe there was some chocolate on my finger when I grabbed it. Who knows?
Sure. Zach eats chocolate in the morning.
But I will say, the Mephisto and Midnight Suns, it feels very poopish. We've heard too many Midnight Suns rumors. They feel more fan casty than they do real. I'll believe it when I see it with Midnight Suns and anybody appearing in that.
Yeah, I think the poop element, because Daniel RPK I think is actually one of the good ones. Yeah. But he says Mephisto will appear in the Midnight Suns film. It just has a level of certainty to it, and it is that certainty that I say is poop.
And when a film
is certain
that early in development, you have no idea who's guaranteed to be in that movie, right? Yeah. We don't even know if the movie will happen, much less what the lineup will be, the villain, all that kind of stuff. So that feels poop.
It feels poop. Well, we'll leave it there for this episode of the Rumor Rundown. Thank you, Zach, for helping me get through all of this and for entertaining my
You have this look with the glasses and the hat and the toilet paper. It's a little like Zero Dark 30. Like you're like, you know what I mean? You're like a hired contractor, CIA op.
I just came out of torturing some detainee.
Jeff Bridges, the old man. You've been in, Lahore all week or whatever. Yeah.
Geronimo. Yeah. Well, thank you, Zach. I feel like I'm cosplaying as like a CIA informant, a deep throat, if you will. And if you didn't like my scoop this week, I promise I'm going to try to get better at this. But I don't want to be a scooper. I want to be a purveyor of truth, justice, in the American way.
That's right.
Big thanks to Brian for producing and editing this video. And we also want to thank one of our executive producers, Far North and Northwest QLD Emergency Services, for executive producing
this best episode. Name.
They're the best. Nerdriot.shop is your one-stop shop for some of the best nerdy gear. I am wearing our fantastic bricks design.
Yes.
That I think is my favorite shirt. I will be wearing it in San Diego this weekend at Comic-Con. If you're going to be in San Diego at San Diego Comic-Con, come find me. I'll be walking around. I'll be wearing shorts. I'll be wearing shirts like this.
Toilet paper on your neck?
Maybe if this poop stinks real bad, I'll have to carry it around with me. I mean, a lot of stuff smells like shit when you're walking around Comic-Con. If you know, you know.
Yeah.
The hygiene's not good in the San Diego heat.
And it's summer,
It's summer. You can't control it. I will be stinking when you see me, so I'm just warning you. But I will love to talk to you if you want to come say hi. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. We are gonna have a busy week ahead, so we'll see you in 2 weeks for the Rumor Rundown. Bye, everybody.
Bye.